Hi, I'm Carrie from the Henry County Conservation Department, and today we're going to have a lesson on endangered species. This woman is a successful movie producer. Between scenes, she made time to go shopping. This gentleman has severe arthritis and uses the most powerful medicine his herbalist can provide. These twins will be starting college in the fall with majors in forestry and wildlife biology. What do all these people have in common? All of them may have participated in the illegal wildlife trade and didn't even know it. This program is designed to inform the viewer about the international trade of wildlife, which is the buying and selling of wildlife and wildlife products around the world. The content is based off the program Wildlife for Sale through the World Wildlife Fund. All photos are from royalty-free websites cited at the end of this presentation. What country in the world buys more wildlife products than any other country? If you guessed the United States, you would be correct. And a lot of the products purchased are illegal. And most people know very little about this huge industry. For instance, our movie producer bought this shawl at a fancy store on that particular shopping trip. She didn't know what it was made of. She just liked it and had to have it, regardless of the price. As it turns out, that shawl was made from a Tibetan antelope known as chiru. These antelope live in remote areas on the Tibetan Plateau area of China and India. Poachers, which are people who hunt illegally, kill these chirus to get their fur to make these type of shawls. The hairs are plucked from the hides instead of sheared off live animals. It takes many chirus to make just one shawl. This species of antelope is critically endangered since poachers kill these animals by the thousands each year. In April of 2019, National Geographic stated that as of the 1990s, there were only 75,000 left in the wild. They also claimed that one scarf cost $20,000. An endangered species means there aren't many of them left, and if we aren't careful, they will become extinct, meaning gone forever. Products made from chiru fur were banned from trade since 1979. However, once the fashion world discovered the fine wool in the 1980s, these scarves became a must-have for those people who could afford them. Most people don't know they're buying illegal products. Sometimes items like the shawls made from the chiru are smuggled into the United States with false labels on them. Well then, how are we supposed to know if what we are buying is legal? Unfortunately, we don't. Telling an officer, "I didn't know," isn't a defense. It is our job to know. And to do that, you must learn about the wildlife trade, talk about it, share the information with others. Most people don't even stop to think about where products come from. If you wanted a coral necklace, would you stop and think about the coral reefs in the sea? How about an ocelot coat? Would you consider the wild ocelots in the jungle? But what if you wanted ivory jewelry? Would you give the majestic elephant a second thought? When environments are changed due to overhunting and poaching, entire ecosystems suffer. For instance, elephants are crucial for grassland animals since they knock down trees and open up the canopies. Sunlight then reaches the forest floor so grasses can grow, feeding animals such as gazelles. Natural grasslands are created by this service provided by the elephants. Malaria is a deadly disease carried by mosquitoes. Malaria is on the rise in several Asian countries because many bullfrogs are harvested every year to supply the restaurants with frog legs. All these luxuries, fur coats, shawls from the chiru, and even frog legs? Does she really need them? This man says that his medicine for arthritis is not a luxury. He hurts so badly sometimes he can hardly move. It's not that he hasn't tried many different avenues to help him with his pain. He truly has. Tiger medicine is the only thing that may give him relief, says his herbalist. Many different types of wildlife products have been used over the years in traditional Chinese medicine, or TCM. These range from tiger bone, rhino horn, bear gallbladder, to ginseng root. There are more people now than ever before. Many are using natural healing methods, which unfortunately has caused severe damage to wild populations of both plants and animals. The black rhino population has declined since 1970. They are losing habitat as well as being poached for their horns. The West African black rhino subspecies was officially declared extinct in 2011. There are less than 4,000 tigers in the wild. Their numbers have declined due to lack of habitat as well as illegal hunting. For the first time in history, recently there has been an increase in the number of tigers. Yay! The bad news? There are more tigers in captivity today in the United States alone than there are in the wild. There are over 5,000. Most of them are exotic pets. Only 6% are in zoos. And when poachers run out of tigers, leopards have been killed as the next best thing. There are many laws that try to protect these amazing animals. However, the price tag that comes with killing just one animal sometimes is too great to resist. A lot of the countries where these exotic animals are found are traditionally poor countries. If you lived there and were offered sometimes over $40,000 for just one large animal, that's more than you may make in a year's time or 3 years' time. Think about that, especially if you had a family to feed. Yes, you may love animals and feel badly about killing them, but you would feel worse if your kids couldn't eat. People who use traditional medicines believe in protecting wildlife, but laws may be ignored if they think an illegal medicine will help them or maybe cure a loved one. Having arthritis treated with tiger bone may sound strange to some, but TCM doctors have used medicines made from animal parts for years. A lot of times, these type medicines are a last resort once other alternatives have not worked. How can we honor these ancient traditions and still keep the world's magnificent creatures? One answer may be plants. Use herbal replacements instead of medicines made from endangered animals. Sounds good, but traditionalists argue there is no replacement for the power of tiger and rhino medicines. Outsiders may judge those who use medicines made from endangered species, but what if you had a family member who was suffering? Would you try a treatment made from an endangered plant or animal? The girls decided they wanted a more unusual animal to add to their traditional pets. They already had a cat, a dog, and even some mice. The pet store had a lot of exotic animals, lizards, snakes, fish, and even a small monkey, but they settled on a parrot. People buy live animals for many reasons. Some are pets. Others are used in lab experiments. Yet others are forced to perform in circuses and shows. It is against the law, or it's illegal, to import threatened and endangered species, even parrots, without special permits. Parrots found in pet stores likely were bred in captivity, meaning that people raised them and didn't take them from the wild. But dealers smuggle, meaning that they bring into the country illegally, an estimated 25,000 parrots across the United States border from Mexico each year to supply the American pet trade. Their journey is a cruel one. It begins with birds being taken from their nests. Baby birds are taken as sometimes the parents are killed. Other times the trees are cut down so poachers, those people who take plants or animals illegally without permits, can get at the nests easily. Then the birds are crowded into cages. They may have even been drugged with tequila, or their beaks may be taped shut to keep them quiet. Smugglers can bring these birds into the United States easily since there aren't enough wildlife inspectors to monitor the entire U.S.-Mexico border. Protected birds are sometimes mixed in with those that are legal to bring in, so it's harder to notice them. False documents are produced for those shipments. Only a small percentage of illegal ones are discovered, while thousands of others make it through border checkpoints. By the time these birds reach pet shops, over 70% have died. That means out of 10 birds, only 3 lived. Well, for a while anyway, because remember, they were taken from one habitat and thrown into another really far away. Dealers get a variety of protected species through this smuggling operation. For example, this tuatara lizard, or a red-kneed tarantula, or even radiated tortoises, which bring $10,000 on the black market. Animals aren't the only thing smuggled, so are plants, like this Venus flytrap. Most pet owners don't know how their animals arrived at the pet store. Again, chances are good that they were bred and raised in captivity, but remember, sometimes others are still smuggled in. It is important to ask where the bird came from and ask the store to prove it to you, to show you the documents. If you ask, they have to show you, then you can be sure you aren't harming wild populations with your exotic animal purchase. Domestic animals are the best, like dogs and cats. But if you decide to go with something else, like a parrot, be sure it's captive bred. Find out what's involved in caring for the animal you want ahead of time. Once you buy it, you can't usually take it back, and by no means should you set it free. Do your homework. Read up on the illegal pet trade. Talk about it. Share what you have learned. We now live in a technological world. Sharing is easy with a whole bunch of people at one time. What are people doing to stop illegal wildlife trade before these smuggled plants or animals, like pets, reach retail outlets and ultimately our homes? Good news. There are many people around the globe working to protect wildlife, such as government entities, conservation groups, and even individuals. CITES is the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna, which are animals, and flora, which are plants. Over 140 nations around the globe have signed this international agreement that lays out rules for trading certain species. There are laws designed to protect plants and animals too. The Endangered Species Act restricts trade in certain threatened or endangered species. This act even regulates certain species under the CITES agreement. The Wild Bird Conservation Act is the law in the United States that makes it illegal to import certain birds for the pet industry. The U.S. is allowed to crack down on the illegal trade in ivory because of the African Elephant Conservation Act, as well as CITES. Here's a side note. Laws are only as good as they can be enforced. Also, remember, there can be repercussions as well. In 2016, the United States and Kenya burned their stockpiles of confiscated illegal ivory in an effort to discourage poachers. China had done the same thing right before that in 2015. The result wasn't less poaching. Instead, the poachers retaliated in an effort to thwart those demonstrations and to show that they still had the upper hand. Unfortunately, there ended up being an increase in poaching and an increase in elephant deaths afterwards. The initial plan backfired. It isn't easy to enforce all these laws. Think of all the travelers that come through airports. Also, there are thousands of shipments of reptiles and tropical fish that go through airports such as Los Angeles International Airport alone. Inspectors have to figure out which are legal and which ones aren't. Passengers have been caught trying to smuggle animals in their carry-on luggage. Everything from live baby monkeys to dead birds, most recently at Dulles Airport in February of 2020. There are not enough U.S. Fish and Wildlife inspectors or U.S. Customs agents to catch every illegal import that comes over U.S. borders. For every one that is caught, several others make it through. Illegal trade can be dangerous to humans, other animals, and even environments. Animals like iguanas, monkeys, and turtles can carry viruses and bacteria. Have you heard of rabies, salmonella, or Ebola? Has all this got you thinking? Is wildlife trade always harmful? The answer is no, if that trade is carefully controlled. It can even be beneficial in certain circumstances. For instance, wild alligators are now saved because of alligator farms in the southern part of the United States. These farms produce more than $8.5 million a year in sales in Florida alone, much more than poachers can make. The bird-winged butterflies in Indonesia are no longer poached and sold illegally to collectors. They are now farmed sustainably because the farmers protect the wild population since, well, that's where they get their stock for their farms. Wild vicuñas used to be endangered due to their very soft fur. Ranches are now allowed to catch the vicuñas, shear them, and release them back to the wild. The fleece is then spun into cloth, and the local people make more money than they would from poaching. Poached animals are dead, so there's no more and no more money. This catch and release process allows a sustainable, means it keeps going, market of vicuña wool. Okay, this is getting confusing. Some fur is okay, but other types are not. How can you tell what's legal and what isn't? You can't. Not with 100% certainty. The wildlife trade is incredibly complicated, but as consumers, the people who buy stuff, we hold the key. We can make wiser choices about what we do and do not buy when we learn about plants and animals involved in this type of trade. Now that we know there are illegal aspects to some of the things we buy, hopefully we stop and think twice before purchasing any kind of wildlife product. Bottom line is, if you are unsure, don't buy it. Instead, become more informed as a consumer and be a responsible voter. That way, we help to preserve the beautiful world we have been fortunate enough to know. Wildlife trade. It is a serious thing. Now, when I first got this job about 15 years ago from now, and I found out about this program, I called U.S. Fish and Wildlife, which is a number inside the book that I paid for. I paid for the book. And there was a number inside there where I could call and ask for things to go along with what I was talking about. And they sent me 2 big boxes full of confiscated items. And they're on loan to our department from U.S. Fish and Wildlife. These are not our property. These are not things I purchased anywhere. These are things that are on loan from U.S. Fish and Wildlife to help us with our awareness of the kinds of things that are out there. And so I know that we talked about the elephants, and I actually have 2 elephant products here. One, I have a statue, and it's an ivory statue. And the other one I have is, believe it or not, this is hair from the tail of an elephant made into a bracelet. Now think about this. That elephant was killed just for its teeth to make statues like this. Okay? Yeah, okay, now we have elephant hair where we can make bracelets. But that's a huge animal for just its teeth. This leather is from a sea turtle. And notice that everything has these blue tags on them. This blue tag is identifying what it is and that it is the property of U.S. Fish and Wildlife. So I have sea turtle. I have here's the tag inside here, but I have a cobra purse. This is cobra skin purse. rock python sandals, which is actually kind of odd that they sent me a pair. Usually they just send one because then that way, you know, you actually couldn't wear them. Okay, but I have a pair of rock python sandals. This, inside this bag, is a black coral bracelet. And inside this bag is a red coral necklace. Now let me see if now we usually don't take them out of the bags because they've been treated with different chemicals. But I think since this is still in a bag, I think you can see this a little bit better. And here's the tag. A red coral necklace. This one still bewilders me to this day. But this is a frog, I think it's actually a toad, purse. Now, I don't know. I'm just thinking that this is definitely not something that I want around my shoulders to put my money in. But that's where you would put your money, in this toad purse. This particular one is rhinoceros horn. They're in little, they call them like if you're going to make iced tea, they're in like little tea balls in there that you would dilute in water and drink, made from rhino horn. This one is the same kind of concept, except from fur seals. You can see the bag, see the box, from fur seals. Bear gallbladder. There's the tag. Oh. This is musk deer antler cream. Okay, and there are tons of other things that I have. This is lizard skin, and I have a caiman belt, which is like a crocodile. Okay, a caiman belt. But the bottom line is here's the bad news. The bad news is these animals died to make these products. The good news is these tags mean those people were caught. They probably went to jail. They probably paid a whole lot of money in fines, and they were caught. Unfortunately, the animals are still dead. But we can use this as a basis of what not to buy. I do a lot of traveling, and when I first started traveling, I used to purchase things. But now, when I got these boxes for the very first time, when I opened them, I honestly almost threw up. Because there were things in there that made me so sad. I had to have somebody in the room with me when I opened it and went through it all. Now when I travel, I notice some of these things in the little shops, in the villages that I visit. But now I buy nothing. Because as the consumer, we hold the key. If we don't buy it, nobody's going to make it, because the idea with all this is to sell it to make money. Well, if nobody's buying it, you're not making money. And then hopefully the animals stay where they belong. When in doubt, don't buy. That's all I have for you today. Thank you.